to another episode of the Teachers Lounge Talk Show. I am your host, Mrs. Piper, and I am so happy to be with you this morning for you, evening for us. It just feels good to be on this makeshift mothership known as WHPR TV 33, Comcast Channel 90. You may watch, we're live on Facebook tonight. So hello, Facebook. Hello. We tried Facebook before. It just didn't work out. So we're trying it again tonight. Hopefully it'll work out. Before I move on, I want to give thanks to Minister Malik Shabazz and the Get Up Stand Up Show for the 5 years he shared his platform with us. Thank you, Minister Malik, for knowing and believing in your heart of hearts that teachers are very important and we deserve to have our own voice, our own platform, our own media that we control. So thank you, Minister Malik. I also want to thank RJ Watkins, Henry Tyler, and the entire WHPR TV family. Junior, hello. Thank you so much for allowing us this pathway, this avenue. Thank you. Again, people, thank you for allowing us in your homes. We're going to pause for a second for a moment of silence, and then we're going to continue on. For this moment of silence, I normally call it social injustice, but today, whoever or whatever you want to have your moment of silence about, please put it in your mind, put it in your heart, and we will all be respectful at this moment, a moment of silence, please. Okay. Thank you so much for your time, your respect during our moment of silence. We're going to introduce our hosts. Please, Candace, go ahead. You're on mute, Candace.
Oh man, that was a big mistake. Sorry. It's Candace Williams here, your favorite reading specialist, creator and founder of Irby Education.
Well.
Okay, my name is William Weir. I am a recently retired DPSCD educator. I am currently working with 482 Forward. Their FACT Law Committee 482 Forward is an education social justice group. And I have to say, it's good to see Lakia again. I had the honor and pleasure of being on the DFT executive board with her.
And Donovan Gardner, Mr. Gardner, he cannot be with us tonight. He's not feeling very well, but we love you, Donnie. We're going to hold down the fort. Feels a little empty tonight because, Donnie, he gets to get on the roll and all that passion just spews out. So we don't have passionate Mr. Gardner with us, but that's okay because we have a wonderful guest, a beautiful guest. And I'm so excited that we have the beautiful and the wonderful Vice President of DFT, Miss Lakia Wilson-Lumpkins. Thank you, Lakia. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Now, I'll tell you, Lakia is actually a returning guest. She was with us when we had Dr. Vitti on. And I want to thank you for representing our mighty union, And I'll say this. I did hear someone say that this platform, this original platform that we have, you had a superintendent, a union official, parents, because I'm a parent, Candace is a parent, and teachers, I'm a teacher, Candace is your teacher, sitting down discussing education. How wonderful is that? Just to be around that type of environment. So I just thought that was just so wonderful. And at this moment, I just want to say that. I'm going to share my screen because we're going to open with a video that I pulled from, hope I'm doing this right. So bear with me, everybody. A video that I pulled from YouTube. I'm going to make sure I'm sharing my screen. This is a little different for me. All right. So give me a moment. All right. I'm going to make sure my screen is being shared. My sound good. I'm going to share. Please listen to this, everybody. It's only about 2 minutes. This is, of course, President-elect Biden. I always encourage my students when we watch videos and when we do our research, you want research to be timely. So you always want to look at the date. So notice, everybody, this is January 15th, 2021. Today's date is the 26th. So we're just about a week ago. All right. So we're going to listen to this video.
Give the school district
start it over.
To get more people vaccinated, to create more places for them to get vaccinated, to mobilize more medical teams to get shots in people's arms, to increase vaccine supply, and to get it out the door as fast as possible. We'll also do everything we can to keep our educators and students safe, to safely reopen a majority of our K through 8 schools by the end of the first 100 days. We can do this if we give the school districts, the schools themselves, the communities, the states, the clear guidance they need, as well as the resources they need that they can't afford right now because of the economic dilemma they're in. That means more testing and transportation, additional cleaning and sanitizing services in those schools, protective equipment and ventilation systems in those schools. We need to make sure that workers who have COVID-19 symptoms are quarantined, and those who need to take care of their family members with COVID-19 symptoms should be able to stay home from work and still get paid. This will reduce the spread of the virus and make sure workers get the support they need to maintain their families. But we need about $400 billion in funding from Congress to make all of what I just said happen. It's a great deal, but I'm convinced we are ready to get this done. The very health of our nation is at stake. Our rescue plan also includes immediate relief to Americans hardest hit and most in need. We will finish the job of getting a total of $2,000 in cash relief to people who need it the most. The $600 already appropriated is simply not enough. You just have to choose between paying rent and putting food on the table.
Okay, so that's our video. And again, the title of it was President-elect Biden discusses reopening schools. And he talked a little bit about relief checks as well. So I'm going to come back to you. And I'm going to ask you, Lakia, I want to start off with this question. We heard President Biden talk about in 100 days, he wants the schools open and all these protective measures. Now, realistically, because we're on the front lines, okay, is that plausible? Is it possible? Or is that just a puff and smoke?
With God, all things are possible. I really do believe that. I would have to say that we are first going to follow the science. And I was just looking at MSNBC today, and President Biden and Dr. Fauci both say that it may get worse again before it gets better, and that the government may make some mistakes in the rollout of their federal plan regarding COVID. So although we would like to get back, everyone wants to get back to where we were before COVID. However, we have to be safe and we have to be considerate. And our young people, although they are less likely to become infected, they can be asymptomatic. And guess who's at home? I am, you are, your aunts, your grandmothers, your uncles, your fathers. They're at home, and our children are going to interact with them. And I'm sure we all know people who have been at home, have not gone anywhere, and somehow still contracted the COVID virus. And that is because someone brought it into them. And so we have to, and I know it's difficult because of the financial ramifications and the physical ramifications, the social, there's so much fallout to this COVID, and we're going to deal with this on the other side of it. But I would rather be living to deal with it than to attend funerals.
Correct. So. And to Lakia, just to kind of piggyback on that, and this may be a tough question because this is something that as an educator and as a parent that I'm still battling with myself, is that in order for us to safely roll out a plan to ensure that that our children are safe, our parents are safe, teachers are safe, Do you think that we should have made vaccinations mandatory for educators before we truly reopen up all of the schools?
I don't. And the reason being is because people may object for a number of reasons. You have religious reasons, you have health reasons. Some people aren't able to, due to allergies or different autoimmune diseases that they may have. So I wouldn't say that it should be mandated. I think that we do have a large number of people who want the vaccine, and they believe that some protection is better than no protection. However, I do think that making it mandatory is going a little bit too far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because even with some of my coworkers, right? They're like, "Well, I've already signed up, and I go in." It's almost like they're going in for surgery. Like, I'm going in, and it's like, okay, and I'm still really sitting back and contemplating on. I understand the risk on both sides, the risk of going and getting the vaccine, as well as the risk of not getting the vaccine. And so I really have to sit back and think, what do I want to do for myself as well as the community? And I think that that's where a lot of educators are kind of, in a balance of.
If I could add to that, also, we first need to be cognizant of the fact that people of color have been misused and abused by the government and the medical society here in America in the past. Now, we are in a much better time to be living at currently in terms of information and how it is disseminated and in our criminal justice system and our legal. So that type of misuse and abuse, while it would be very hard to get away with, it's still plausible in certain areas. Now, this COVID vaccine, I would never throw out any sort of I don't know, conspiracy theory about it, but people have those feelings. Mm-hmm. And so we have to be aware of that, and we have to address it. We have to speak that, because it's like the white elephant in the room. Everyone knows, no one talks about it. We have to talk about it. And this is how we educate people and get more people to be educated on the vaccine and make good decisions for themselves and their families.
See, I just want to jump in really quick, Lakia. Just listening to you, I truly appreciate when I hear you say that vaccines should not be mandatory, because, I have religious reasons. My daughter has never received a vaccination. All right, I've not received one, and I don't want to receive one. I want to continue to fight COVID the way I have been. I'm going to mask up. I'm going to glove up. If need be, I'll bubble up. I'll put on something rubber and go on outside, I have no problem with it. I want to eat my bean soup. I want to eat my seeded fruit. I want to eat my vegetables. And I want to fight it that way and see what happens. But Candace, I'm your Facebook friend. Didn't you say you were going to get the vaccination?
I did say that. And guess what?
Did it?
No.
Why?
Well, going back to what Lakia is saying, thinking about, is this really safe? Is this a setup? And if it is, I don't want to be the first person or one of the first group of people to go in. But then also thinking to myself as well, for my children and as well as our children in the community, how can we ensure that they will be 100% safe to return to schools in the fall without us actually going in to be vaccinated? So I don't know. And that's why I said this is a great topic to talk about, because these are the feelings that a lot of people are feeling,
Yeah.
And not people of color.
Yes. And I'm glad you said that, Lakia. See, I didn't want to say that at first, but I had this conversation with a couple of my coworkers, one who is actually from Jordan. And I had to explain to her, this is the fight that we've had as being African American with the federal government, from the Tuskegee Airmen, that whole experiment, a lot of things going down our whole entire generation and timeline. And this could just be another one of them. I don't know. So I don't know. Will, what do you think?
There are many doctors of color that have been involved in the creation of this vaccine from beginning to end, in the rollout of the vaccine on both sides, on Moderna, on Pfizer. And so we trust our brothers and sisters who are working on the medical front in this vaccine, but that still does not remove any uncertainties that an individual may have. And so it behooves everyone to talk about it with our family members. I'm talking about it with my husband. We still have not made a decision yet about ourselves.
Yes.
The district, Detroit Public Schools Community District, is beginning to roll out vaccines very soon. Our district nurses will be administering vaccines from 4 locations across the city. And so as we prepare for that rollout, I'm wondering, am I going to get it? But I'm having the conversation with everyone, and I will soon make my own decision on what's best for myself, what's best for my family. And again, we have to keep talking about it, and because we want to get on the other side of it.
Yes, that's true.
Well,
Go ahead, Will.
I have taken the vaccine. In fact, I just got my shot yesterday.
How do you feel? You look good.
Except for the polka dot unicorns I've seen in my backyard, I'm doing great. No, I'm serious.
Don't play.
But all serious, I think I have read so much, and I don't think if I was this age that maybe I would have held out a little longer. It's just the thing that bothers me is that people are making a lot of decisions on what they've heard. They've seen a couple of films or whatever of bad reactions, but I don't think we do our due diligence with this. And I'm still taking a chance, but I have read like just exhaustive stuff, the New England Journals of Medicine, Johns Hopkins University. I mean, I have read about as much as this as I could. Not any Facebook conspiracy theory stuff. And I think that's where what we need to do. We have to put out as much information as we can for people to make their own decisions. I think DPSCD should do a better job at putting out information about just what's in this vaccine and its efficacy. It just bugs me when I hear people say, well, I heard, or they pull up something on Facebook that has I won't say legitimacy, it's just from what they're heard. And they're some of the most ridiculous conspiracy theories that I ever heard. I mean, I was one of the first people who said, there's no vaccine for the common cold, HIV, AIDS, whatever. But what I did after that is look up and see why. And I found out those are different pathogens. They are different diseases altogether. So they don't really fit with what is happening with COVID. I would just like people to be able to make informed decisions. And I think a lot of these decisions aren't informed. Well, I heard, because my cousin, brother, sister said that this happened. And I just like, if I hear that one more time, and even when it comes to Tuskegee, times are different now. When you go get your vaccine, there's no B on the bottle for black and W on the bottle for white. So that's, the medicine is different then. There are safeguards that weren't in place during Tuskegee. So you have to take all of those things into account. And as you know, I kind of pride myself on being a student of Black history. Yes, the government is not one of my most trustworthy things, but you have to do the research. And I don't think a lot of people do enough research and reading. They go by what I heard. They go by one or two instances, and that is just not enough for an informed decision. If I had the luxury of youth like you guys, I probably would have waited a little longer.
Not the luxury.
Because you know, even though I do vegetarian, you know, holistic health, I have a holistic doctor. You know, I do a lot of things to take care of myself. But, you know, I just, after I did all that research and reading and considering my age, and I still say I'm taking a chance, but it's 2 days. So I'll see. I just hate these baseless conspiracy theory I heard type of stuff where people are making their decisions on.
Well, so let me ask you this, Bill, because I didn't get the shot. I'm gonna ask you some basic questions. Did it hurt? How did you feel right afterwards? Some of colleagues that received it, they reported a numbness or a tingling sensation in their arm. Did you experience that? Talk to me about your experience getting the shot.
Well, no more than any other shot that you got. It was like they give you a shot and you say, like a bee sting. But after that, you know, a lot of other stuff that people have said they felt fever, nausea, you know, stuff that comes with the flu shot. I did not feel any of those things. There is a questionnaire. There's actually a website that you go on that the CDC is actually tracing. They want to know how you're feeling. Mm-hmm. So they send you these updates, and if you feel any different, of course you should go to your doctor. But they have a website where they're actually tracing how you feel from day to day. I think they trace you. I can't remember. I don't want to put out anything. But it's a few days they're going to be asking you how you feel and if there's any kind of, you know, adverse reaction. Mm-hmm. I won't say that I'm not nervous, but my brother is 79. I'm 66. I know I don't look a day over 65.
That's right.
But, you know, I am a little apprehensive. I am a little nervous. But I just did the research, and I just said I am 85% sure of its efficacy.
Well, I'm going to keep my eye on you. That's for sure. Because I'll say this, you know, I'll say this. We're going to look at our brothers and sisters in Chicago. All right, Lakia, I want your comment on this.
Okay.
As our union official, I want to make sure I'm sharing my screen. All right, this gets kind of, I get forgetful sometimes. All right, I'm going to make sure I'm sharing my screen. All right, can you see this, Lakia?
Yes.
Now it reads, Chicago teachers vote to teach from home, defying district. Now, of course, we heard President Biden. He says that he wants to get all teachers in schools open K through 8 in 100 days. So I'm curious, Lakia, how do you feel about the Chicago teachers voting to teach from home and defying their school district?
We love the Chicago Teachers Union.
Yes.
Our brothers and sisters in the American Federation of Teachers in the teaching profession, we stand behind them 10,000%.
Yes.
This is a struggle that the Detroit Federation of Teachers endured during the summertime when the district began to roll out their reopening plan. Our own superintendent required that we all return back face to face in the fall. And our brothers and sisters said, no, not at this time. It's not safe. And we voted to take a safety strike in lieu of returning face to face. It was approved. Over 90% of our membership voted that if we had to return face to face, that we would stay at home the same way the Chicago Teachers Union is doing. So I think they are taking a piece from our roadmap. Mm-hmm. Several school districts here in this metropolitan area are contacting us because they are required to go back. I don't want to call any districts out, but they're calling us and they're asking Detroit Federation of Teachers, how did you do it? Yeah. How do you get the district to allow teachers the option to work from home or face to face? How do you do it? And so I applaud not only the membership for speaking up and speaking out and standing in solidarity. I think this leadership that I am a part of and our executive board and our trustees and our state federation for standing behind us.
And I have to ask you, Lakia, I remember in the beginning of the year, so we're going back to August, and I was scared to death because my husband made up my mind for me that I can't go back into the classroom. My daughter wanted to go back, so I'll go back. Husband said no, right? No problem. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to take a reducing salary. They're going to put me as a substitute. I'm going to have to resign all these scenarios are running through my mind, filled with anxiety, right? Then my mighty union, DFT, Terrence Martin, president, Lakia Wilson-Lumpkins, vice president, negotiated that if teachers belong to DFT, we had the option of staying home. Now, do you know of any other school districts to do that? Are we the first ones? Or you two, the ambassadors of this?
Yes.
Wow. No, I thank you, because that's what you call thinking outside the box. And I mean that because I didn't know what was going to happen. So and this is the first time I'm hearing that you bargained for this. This is why I tell you, let's get behind our union and let them bargain. And I thank you for even having the thought pattern to say, well, wait a minute. Let the unionized teacher have the choice of staying home. The choice. And the fact that Dr. Vitti agreed to that, I think it speaks volumes on him and his humanity, and the fact that he wants everyone to be well. That's what I think. I mean, what do you think, Lakia?
Well, he arrived at that decision.
Okay.
That was not his initial thought.
Right.
That was the initial decision for the district. It took some pretty strong, long negotiations. It was not easy, and but we function with the best interests of our membership and our community in mind. And again, I can't imagine what school would have been like for Detroit. We have the least of everyone else, right? And so where some of these other districts have many amenities and luxuries, we do not. So I cannot imagine our schools that don't have air conditioning back and quote unquote social distancing, and we're at full capacity or whatever. I can't imagine the madness that would have been in a hybrid schedule in a school with 2,500 students. The amount of work that it would take to put into that scheduling, just the scheduling, we can handle the go-to, but to get it in the system had not even begun. So it was, those wishes were a tad bit too late. And again, the city at that point, the infection rate was way over 5. And right now it's hovering around 6 to 7%. And that's good because it's down. It was up to around 10 before Christmas. So the Detroit community is doing well. We're masking up, but I'm not sure if we've gotten past the period of seeing any breakouts following the holidays. So,
I think Vitti, we haven't had a big, and I say we because I still associate with DFT. They haven't had a big leadership change in years. I think he knew the character of Terrence and Lakia and the members that are on the board. I just think he knew what was going to happen. He knew y'all weren't going back. And aside from the conflict, I think he saw the writing on the wall and knew this wasn't going to happen. And Biden says 100 days. That would kind of put you around April. So,
wait. Well, let me push back on you for a second because there are several school districts that have been in school since September.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And they're unioned and they were back in the classroom. and that's with a superintendent and their own union. So
they weren't our union, though.
Right, they weren't our union, and it wasn't our superintendent. It's a conglomerate. I would never want to thank just one person. I want to thank school board. I want to thank DFT. I want to thank Dr. Vitti, because to me, all three entities had to agree. Am I right, Lakia? All three had to agree.
So here was the issue with that. Okay. Because there was no federal direction from number 45, I won't say his name. There was no federal direction in terms of school, back to school. Each state was given the responsibility to decide. And so the governor then at that point, and it was very political, said that the superintendents could decide what was best for their communities. And so our superintendent went along right with everybody else and said that we would open up. We just said no. But I will say, and I have to be honest to say that the past school board president, Iris Taylor, was very instrumental in helping us to reach that agreement, because it was tough. And again, that was not his original decision for the district. We stood strong and we got there.
Yes. And
I'm not, that's not taken away from him, because Vitti, he could have been obstinate and fought it. But I think it was the union leadership, along with working, like what you said with Dr. Taylor. I just think he kind of knew that it wasn't going to happen, so why fight it? I'm not taking anything away from, because he could have been obstinate like those emergency managers we had. And tried to impose all sorts of penalties or whatever the case may be. But I think he was smart enough to see the writing on the wall and decided not to be, obstinate about it and go along with the wishes of what he knew was going to happen anyway.
William, you're correct. And to Leslie, those school districts that have been open and are open currently, if you talk to the parents and students in those districts, they're having outbreaks. Schools are closing and opening, opening. Mm-hmm. We cannot have that. We cannot do that to our parents and students. They need stability. And especially when you're having to decide who's going to be the caregiver when this child is not in school. We can't have a week on here and a week off there. That doesn't work either. And so again, it is in the best interest of our community, of our students, of our members, that we have this option.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I do recall the last school board meeting. So that would be January. I do recall, if I have my memory correct, Dr. Vitti did say that he would rather the schools just stay closed for the rest of the year rather than opening them up, risk some type of outbreak. Then you have to close them again. Then you have to go back home again. I do recall him saying he would just rather keep them closed, So I just wanted to say that. I believe I heard him say that. So.
I will say that from September through November, when schools closed, because Detroit was open on a very limited basis. Mm-hmm. We had some buildings open. They were social distanced. They had learning centers. I did visit over 10 schools in that time. I will say I didn't see any classroom with more than 8 or 9 students. I did see learning centers. Some had maybe 10, 12, but they were in larger areas, maybe a cafeteria or a library or a gymnasium. However, there were no close and cramped quarters. And our schools and our students and our staff and our custodians and food services and our clerical, everyone did a tremendous job to keep those cases at bay. Unfortunately, as the numbers started to spike before Thanksgiving in other communities, they started spiking here in Detroit too. So that led to the closure.
Yeah, and just speaking from a parent who experienced that, right? I felt the pain of sending my kids to school, and then boom, November is closed because there were a few cases at the different elementary schools in West Bloomfield. And then for them to come back home, like I could see the change. Like my son, who's an honor student, he just started falling behind in his grades. I saw in his demeanor, his attitude changed about school. And it was just sad to see. And then now, boom, they're back there again. And so for me, as a parent, I have to kind of shift and navigate my schedule and my mindset, and also trying to make sure I keep up with work and home and dropping them off and picking them up. So it's not fun. It has been tough, but I will say I'm glad to see that they're back in school again, because I see the excitement and all of that. But also shifting the gears too, while we're speaking about that, my son plays basketball and my husband is a coach. They are so big on sports, right? And he plays for the AAU right now. Listen, I'm against it. I don't think that he should be playing basketball, but I can't tell his dad nothing. However, I see that, like Will had brought up before, now they're thinking about starting up this whole contact sports again, or just getting sports back. What do you think about that?
So now that we are rolling out vaccines and many of us are taking the vaccines, our young people are not being vaccinated. Mm-hmm. And so the issue still remains that although an adult may be vaccinated, the students are not. And students they're young. They don't even have the capacity yet to grasp danger, right? And so they're going to be students. Kids are going to be kids. They're going to whisper in one another's ear. They're going to share a bag of Doritos. They're going to let me get a sip off your drink. They're going to be kids. And can we protect them from them? Mm-hmm. That's the touchy issue, and especially in sports. And so if students aren't, well, athletes, if they're not in close contact with one another for extended periods of time, my child, and I have a child in the district in Detroit Public Schools, and I do want him to participate. I had enrolled him in PAL right at the beginning of the pandemic and could not attend his little Hoopers basketball.
Hoopers.
So yeah, my heart
is to coach with the Hoopers.
I want him in soccer, and I want him in everything because he's athletic. Oh boy. But I just can't risk it. And I look at these young people. There's a young man in upper Michigan, maybe closer towards Flint, Lansing area, not quite upper Michigan, but mid Michigan. And he has that respiratory syndrome that our young people are contracting, that is like a mutation of COVID. And he's having his legs amputated. And so I just don't want to risk it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's deep. Now, I'm curious, since we're talking about risk, you are our DFT vice president of our mighty, mighty union. So let's talk about the teachers that work in this district that aren't in the union. All right. You are our brothers and sisters too. You're just not in the union. Now, must they go back? Like if schools reopen in 100 days and Biden had his way and the vaccinations are there and the schools are clean and, we have non-unionized teachers that may still feel a certain kind of way, but would they be mandated to go back only because they're not protected by the union?
No.
Okay.
The right to work law that was spawned from the devil. The union is right. The right to work law states that although folks may not be dues paying members, we are still obligated to represent them. And so I know, shake your head, William. I'm gonna try not to.
I'm nodding. I'm nodding. Like, good, yeah.
We still have to look out for them. So when we sign a contract, if you recognize in our contract language, we always refer to the bargaining unit. That means we're bargaining for everyone.
Right.
And then when we talk about membership, that's for the dues paid members. But the contract always is a net that encompasses the bargaining unit, which is everyone.
Okay, that's good to know but regardless, everyone should be a part of the union.
Absolutely.
Everyone should be a part.
And I want to give an example. If something were to happen to a teacher, and things can happen in the blink of an eye, and you need an attorney, you do not have that coverage. And there's airline discounts and cell phone discounts, and there are free college courses, and there's so many perks to being a member. I know someone who needed an attorney. They weren't in the union. They joined after the fact, but you have to be a member previous to the incident. Right, William? And
yeah,
so
yeah.
the person was not able to take advantage of that attorney. And so instead of paying the union dues, which are minimal at best, he had to retain an attorney. And that's $5,000. And now you have court fees and the lawyer hourly fees. And so now you've well exceeded $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, whereas the person should have just joined the union.
I used to say when I was a union rep, if I have to represent you and you're not paying dues, it would be akin to having a court-appointed lawyer. But you know, Leslie, you shared that video that you shared of Biden. You know, it's something for teachers to look forward to, because the money that he's talking about putting in schools, and you know, some of our schools are very old. The money that he's talking about putting in schools, they're now going to be retrofitted, because, you know, you can get the proper ventilation. You know, there's going to be a national coordination on how we should reopen schools, something that we haven't had before. So actually the future for teachers and students and even parents looks a bit brighter under this administration.
But like going back to what Leslie said, is it plausible that you're going to be able to go into every single building throughout the country, ensure that the ventilation system is correct, ensure that there's sanitation stations? Like, will we be able to do that? Will it be enough manpower, work, and labor in order to actually make that happen by September? And for some districts that open, in August, like in the South?
Maybe not that soon, but the amount of money, and I have to go back and see the amount of money that he was talking about. It is a large amount of money. Whether it's going to all be done by April, that is highly doubtful. But seeing how this COVID is going to be around for a while, if he sticks to what he says, I think they will do a lot better with fixing the buildings.
Now, I'm just curious, and all of you can chime in on this. Every time I watch the news and they're talking about all the restaurants that are closed and the health clubs that are closed and all these other facilities that are closed, of course, I have to think of the Detroit economy, right? So let's just suppose, because we know there's a new variant of COVID out there, and we really don't know what's going to happen. We really don't. So let's just suppose everything has to remain closed because of this new variant, right? What do you think will happen to the Detroit economy? Do you think we can hang on like we've been, or do you think it'll just collapse and everyone's bankrupt? I'm going to ask you, Candace, you could comment, then Will, then Lakia.
Just overall, it's tough. And what I think about the most, honestly, is small Black business owners. Such as, well, I know for me, I think about some of our local little happy hours that a lot of African-American young Black professionals used to love to attend. They're closed, and they're trying to still sustain themselves with maybe 1 or 2 tents. But the reality is that it costs a lot of money to lease a space in certain areas. You know, the real estate is not cheap. And so I think about how it affects waitresses, bartenders, and small business owners. I'm afraid. I'm afraid for the community, honestly, because no matter how much funding the government gives, the reality is that it affects families as well.
Yeah. What about you, Will?
Yeah, just real quick. I think that, PPP money will be distributed a better under Biden. So that should help out businesses somewhat.
What about you, Lakia? You're probably going to be the last thought, Lakia.
I think that our small businesses here in Detroit, and I know that they're struggling, I think that they have to find a way to kind of reinvent themselves, if at all possible. I see many restaurants changing to doing things outdoor, putting tents up, advertising that they are catering large dinners, and just find a way to retool themselves. I know that's going to be hard, and that may be some cost investing there. However, it's worth it. We're here to support. I am a Detroiter. I live right in the neighborhood, and I want to support. So just like teachers had to retool themselves real quick, we never took a class on how to teach online, but we become our own experts, right? And so our small businesses, if they can, if they can get a hold to those monies and tap into monies that are available with the county, tap into different grants and just try to retool themselves the best way that they can so that they can stay afloat. Detroiters want, and if we know and can advertise and get that information out, I'm sure that would be a big help.
Amen. And I really like what you said, Lakia, and it puts me in mind of the Teachers Lounge, how we used to be at the studio, right? And when we were asked to return because of COVID and the school closures, I was like, how are we going to do that? We can't go in the studio. Well, we put our heads together. We knew about Zoom. My husband can format, and we survived. Okay, so I'm like this. If we can do it, and we're a small operation, anyone can. So I just want to encourage you, small businesses, you can do it. Think outside the box. We did, and we're here. Listen, I want to thank Miss Lakia Wilson-Lumpkins for being our very special guest here 2 weeks in a row. We were blessed to have Lakia. So thank you so much, Lakia. And listen, we will see you next week, next Saturday. The Teachers Lounge Talk Show airs every Saturday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. on Comcast Channel 90, that's WHPR-TV. We are a subsidiary of the Get Up, Stand Up show with Minister Malik Shabazz. Thank you so much. Take care. We'll see you next week. I hope we see you next week, Donnie. God bless. See you. Thank you. See you next